So there is one thing that almost every filmmaker is guilty of, myself included, and it absolutely destroys our productivity. If we were able to change this, we'd get twice as much work done in half the time. But changing it requires fundamentally rethinking the ways that we work. When I made this change in my own work, I was able to get more done in a week than I was usually able to get done in a month. The problem lies in multitasking or multi-threading, working on more than one job at a time in one day. When we're working on multiple projects simultaneously, every time we switch from one project to another, it takes a lot of time and mental energy to make that switch. It's like we're shifting our minds. We're moving a project from long-term storage to short-term storage so that we can actively manipulate them in our minds. This uploading takes time and concentration as we familiarize ourselves with the context, situations, relationships, and the most recent communication. Only when we recall everything can we then make decisions about what the next thing is that we should do. But just as soon as we've completed one or two tasks, another project gets spun up and the current one gets spun down because we get an email or a call, or we might hit some kind of block where we need to get something from somebody else before we can move forward. It's even worse if we're constantly checking our email or text messages or managing multiple threads of communication across multiple projects, clients, and ideas. We end up working all day, juggling 5 different things, but getting no real deep work done. This is a situation I found myself in numerous times. In fact, because I believed I was adept at managing and juggling lots of different projects, I always took on too many at one time. I could have up to 20 different videos or films that I was working on in some context, and I felt productive because I was going from one to the next. But in reality, I wasn't really completing anything or really even moving anything forward. I was just moving projects from my deep brain to my current consciousness and then packing them away again. I felt like I was doing a lot with my days and I was working long hours, but I wasn't actually getting anything finished because I wasn't really getting stuck into anything in a meaningful sense. When you don't finish things, you don't get any feedback, and that's essential to making you better at your craft. You don't get to ring the victory bell and feel as though you've accomplished something. Sure, I did eventually complete things, but because of all the task switching, it was weeks or months after they could have been finished. All that shifting projects, I constantly lost momentum and, more importantly, focus. In the last couple of months, I've had one rule that has served me really, really well, and that is one project per day. I'll pick something the night before and I'll allow my subconscious to unpack it as I rest and sleep. Then at 9 a.m., when I get ready for work, I get stuck into that particular project until either I get the big thing done or I hit a wall where I don't have enough to move forward. When that happens, for me, the workday's over. And this discipline makes it essential to pick things that I already have a lot to go on with. I turn my email off for the first 3 or 4 hours. I switch my phone off. Sometimes I even put it in another room. This approach has led me to completing more in a shorter amount of time than I ever have in my 20-something years of being a professional filmmaker. It is much harder to stick to because we become addicted to the cheap dopamine that comes from replying to every email, scanning every social media account, and flicking for the what we think are easy wins, but are actually just easy distractions. Once you settle down and dedicate yourself to one project at a time, you will find a deeper level of work that is far more productive, far more satisfying, and actually gets things done. I would encourage you to try this new one project per day focus method and see if it doesn't unlock greater levels of productivity and a far deeper sense of satisfaction with the work that you actually do. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.